His phone started ringing before he arrived on site. A subcontractor needed a decision. A supervisor wanted him to check some work. Someone else needed to know what to tell a client. By the time the construction manager reached his desk, people were already waiting for him. He knew the project better than anyone else. He could normally solve the problems quickly, so he answered the questions, he made the decisions, fixed the issues, and got everyone moving again. He was reliable. But he had also become the answer man too. Nothing moved without him. This is the reliability trap. The more problems you solve for everyone else, the more dependable you appear. But eventually, everyone becomes dependent on you. Welcome back to the Cognitive Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Clint Rahe, high-performance coach, speaker, and author of The Cognitive Athlete. This season is called The Performance Traps, 10 behaviors and workplace systems that look productive, responsible, or high-performing, but quietly undermine people, leadership, and results. Last week, we explored the busyness trap. This week, we're looking at one of the reasons capable leaders become so busy. They become the person everyone goes to for answers. Let's dive into it. I worked with a construction manager who had become central to almost every decision on his project. He was experienced, commercially aware, and technically very strong. When a problem emerged, he could usually see the solution faster than anyone else. His team knew that, so they asked him. A supervisor would bring him a question. He would provide the answer. A subcontractor would raise an issue. He would make the call. A client concern would emerge, and he would step in. Each interaction only took a few minutes, but they happened all day. His phone rang constantly. People even stopped him as he walked across the site. Team members, well, they just waited outside of his office. He could not finish one task without being interrupted by another problem. The more helpful he became, the worse the problem became. Instead of bringing options, people brought more questions. Instead of making decisions within their roles, they waited for him. Instead of saying, "Here's what I recommend," they asked, "What do you want me to do?" He had not deliberately created a dependent team. He simply wanted to keep the project moving, and it was often quicker to give the answer. But quicker today was creating more work tomorrow. The deeper issue was that while he was solving everyone else's problems, he had very little time left for the work only he could do. Planning ahead, managing risk, developing the team, improving the project rather than constantly rescuing it. He was operating as a most experienced problem solver on site rather than as the construction manager. And as long as every answer had to come to him, he could never fully step away into the next level of his role. So what did we do? We changed the way problems reached him. We introduced a simple approach. If you still have that problem at 5:30, come and see me. He wasn't refusing to help. He was delaying the rescue. However, genuine safety, customer, legal, or major commercial issues still had to be escalated straight away. But the routine didn't. People had to keep working on the problem. They needed to check the processes, speak to each other, review the information, and gather options. Use authority already available to them. And if the problem still existed at 5:30, they could bring it to him because that was a genuine issue. What was interesting was how few problems survived until 5:30. People solved them. They worked together. They made decisions. The construction manager was still available when he was genuinely needed. But he was no longer the first response to every moment of uncertainty. His interruptions reduced, and more importantly, the team started using their own judgment. We called it the 5:30 rule. So why does this trap exist? Being the answer man feels valuable. People trust your experience. They seek your judgment. You solve problems quickly. Each time you step in, you receive a small confirmation. They need me. But every answer can remove a thinking opportunity for somebody else. Every rescue makes the next rescue more likely. Every decision you take back reinforces that belief that the real authority sits with you. One of my favourite authors, David Marquette, explored this in his book Turn the Ship Around. Instead of having people continually ask permission, he encouraged them to state their intent. Not, what should I do, but here is what I intend to do, and here is why. That forces the person closest to the work to assess the situation, consider the risk, and make a recommendation. The leader still provides oversight, but the leader no longer supplies all the thinking. Let's look at the 3 levels of this trap. At an individual level, reliability can become part of your identity. You are the safe pair of hands, the person who never drops the ball, and it can feel uncomfortable watching someone struggle with something you could solve really quickly. But every time you step in, you take on more cognitive load and remove an opportunity for someone else to learn. The individual question you need to ask is this: am I helping because I'm genuinely needed, or because I am uncomfortable not being needed? At a leadership level, the answers you give shape the behavior that you receive. If someone brings you a problem and you immediately solve it, they learn to bring you more problems. If you take work back when pressure rises, they learn that ownership only lasts until things get difficult. And then leaders wonder why no one takes initiative, hey? But initiative is difficult to build when the leader repeatedly completes the thinking. Your role is not to be the answer person. It is to help people think through problems, use their judgment, and make sound decisions without always relying on you. And the more decisions that you keep to yourself, the more difficult it becomes to move into higher value leadership work. You cannot lead at the next level while still being the answer person for everything below you. The leadership question is, does my response make this person more capable next time or more dependent on me? And finally, at an organizational level, dependency grows when decision rights are unclear and authority sits too high. The same experienced people are copied into every email, invited to every meeting, and asked to approve every decision. You've probably seen it before. Then the organization complains that they are overloaded. So the organizational question is, where does work stop because everyone is waiting for one person? Now, before you try this, I need to add a fairly important caveat here. Do not walk into work tomorrow, tell everyone to stop bothering you until 5:30, close your door and call it leadership development. This only works if people are actually equipped to solve the problem. Before you delay the rescue, ask yourself these 3 questions. First, do they have the skill? Do they understand the work well enough to make a sound decision? Second, do they have the authority? Are they genuinely allowed to make the call? Or have you told them to take ownership while still expecting them to check everything with you? It's a difference. And third, do they have the information? Can they access the processes, the data, and the context that they need? If one of those things are missing, then the issue is not that they are too dependent. It may be that they haven't been trained, maybe not trusted, or they're not properly equipped. So the 5:30 approach is not about abandoning people and hoping that they work it out. It's about being more intentional with your availability. Support them when they need it, but do not rescue them before they've had an opportunity to think. The aim is not to make yourself unavailable for the sake of it. It is to gradually remove yourself as the automatic solution. Every time someone solves a problem without you, the team becomes more capable, and you create more capacity to lead rather than continually stepping back into the work. Okay, let's turn this into some concrete actions that you can take away and try this week. Action number 1, I want you to delay the rescue. I want you to choose one reoccurring type of problem that people regularly bring to you. You need to check that they have the skill, authority, and information to handle it. Then create a later escalation point. You might say something like, hey, keep working on it. Check the process, speak to the team, and consider your options. If the problem still exists at 5:30, come see me. Look, the exact time doesn't matter. You are creating space between the problem and you stepping in to rescue them. Then I want you to notice which problems disappear, who steps forward, and where does the team still need development. Action number 2. It's actually 3 things to this. Pose, pause, and pounce. Delaying the rescue creates space for people to think. But when they do come back to you, your job is not to immediately take the problem off them. Your job is to help them think it through. You're building their capability. You're helping them assess the situation, consider the risks, weigh up the options, and gradually they'll start to learn to think more like you. The simple approach is this: pose, pause, pounce. First, you're going to pose the question. It could sound something like this: what do you think we should do? Then you pause. Don't jump in when the silence becomes uncomfortable. 30 seconds can feel like 3 hours. This time, you are giving them the time to think it through. Then finally, you're going to pounce, but only after another question. Something like, have you considered? What could go wrong? What information is missing? What support do you need from me? Like, you can even add some context here. You can challenge their recommendations, and you can step in if the decision creates a genuine risk. But do not take the thinking away from them too quickly. I see this in a lot of leaders. It may take longer at first, but this is the investment. Slow the conversation down so the team can move faster without you later. Here are my closing thoughts. This might sound counterintuitive, but one of your jobs as a leader is to make yourself redundant. Not redundant from the organization, but redundant from being the answer to every question. When you set clear boundaries, become intentionally unavailable, and ask questions instead of immediately giving answers, you force your team to think. You give them the opportunity to take initiative, to use their judgment, to solve problems without waiting for you. And that is how capacity gets built. It will feel harder at first. It's quicker for you to give the answer. It's easier for you to step in, and it's more comfortable to just take control. But easy leadership now often creates a harder job later, with more interruptions, more dependency, more decisions sitting with you. Harder leadership now, coaching people, questioning, and holding the boundaries, creates an easier and more capable team later. Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. The construction manager did not become less valuable when the team stopped bringing him every problem. He actually became more valuable. He finally had the space to focus on the work that only he could do. And that is also how you prepare yourself for the next level of leadership. You cannot move up if everything below you still depends on you. So stop trying to be the answer person. Build a team that can think, decide, and act without you. That is not losing control. That, my friend, is leadership. Hey, if this episode has made you reflect on how you are managing your own energy, your focus, your workload, and more importantly, your recovery, the Cognitive Athlete Scorecard is a useful place to start. It'll help you identify which parts of your personal performance system are working well and where you may need to make some changes. You'll find the link in the episode description below. And if this episode has made you think of someone who has become the answer person to everything in the organization, share it with them. Finally, follow and subscribe to the Cognitive Athlete podcast so you don't miss out on episode 3, The Efficiency Trap. While doing everything faster creates more work. I'll see you next time.